is here. That's right. What they say is the most important race of history is going to be taking place in a caucus state. So we'll go over some of the last minute push as to what's happening there, what this means, what this is going to mean for the race, and where it goes from there, and talk a bit about the fact that one certain candidate is notably absent from all the news coverage from this. We'll go over some of that, what's happening with that, and where this could go. In other news, it's January the 6th, or at least the anniversary. It was a few days ago. We're going to be talking a bit about what happened on that day, some of the news articles trying to propagandize that and keep it in people's memories, and of course, I want to know if the Q Shaman left you bear mace and small handheld weapons in your stocking, and if you left out buffalo horns and prayer beads for him, and face paint as well. And if you didn't leave those out for him, hey, maybe that's why you didn't get any bear mace. But we'll talk about what happened there, what's going on with that, and what we do with that. In the eve of January the 6th, Joe Biden gives a unique speech, I would say. We're going to break down some of that. The location, of course, is huge irony. I've got some clips from the full speech. I just listened to the full speech before we went live, and it is every bit as bad as they're saying it is, so we'll go over some of that. What this means and what the historical context is of that. And Ray Epps finds himself not behind bars, but with just a little bit of probation as well. It is going to be all of this and more over here on Contemporary, so strap yourselves in. Get some snacks, gather some friends, and let's talk about what's happening in the news tonight over here on Contemporary. I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Digging that mix of Sticker Brush Symphony, of course. Those of you who have been a long time members of the channel remember that was the first opening theme of the Red and Ed show way back in the beginning, was the Sticker Brush Symphony, and Elaine hated it. So we did go through. We actually changed every season, which we considered a season being the actual calendar season, so 4 times a year. We got through 3 seasons, and I think KTZed and I also got through 3 seasons as well. So we've been able to feature 6 opening songs for that, but again, now working 60 hours a week, there's just absolutely no way to continue with a daily and then also a weekly podcast as well. But I do thank you all who are still here. We've got a lot to go over here today. Some of this is going to be condensed. The Biden speech. Holy crap, that Biden speech. I thought it was going to be fumbling around, and him coming out, and a lot of right-wing figures coming out and trying to exaggerate what it was for effect because it's Biden. No, holy fuck, dude. That was the speech that all the right-wing influencers told you that it was. Holy shit. We're not going to listen to the thing in full. I do have it up in full because there are 2 selections that were not YouTube clipped that I want to go over. So we're going to be talking about that and what's going on with that. We've got the Iowa caucuses coming up. I will give my final plea to that. And even the big distraction that happened right before the Iowa caucuses were here. And I've got an archive that did not archive. Oh well. I think we are over archiving at this point, which is a good thing. Because I occasionally get up the ones that just don't work for whatever reason. But we've got a lot to go over here on Contemporary, so get some snacks, get some people in here. Thank you, Mad Cow Mark, by the way, for joining us on the full other side of the world. Thank you for that. I know he's been looking for this. And I do want to remind Mad Cow Mark as well that if you do want to check that out, if you're in the Discord, And you can grab that from the link in the description if you're not. I do post the Spotify link for every contemporary, so if you want to take me on the go, that would be awesome of you. I do get a bonus for every time you download, so guys, if you want to help me out, start playing the audio platform version. Start playing that, then don't finish it. I still get credit for it, so that'll help me go up against the audio platform algorithms. So definitely that. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, even if you don't listen to it because you were here live, download it and then pull it back out of your library. I still get credit for that as well. But let's get down into the news. Let's get started today over here on Contemporary. I'm going to check in with the chat. And by the way, do feel free to chat along as we go. Reminder, I will be talking about the Hasidic tunnels a little bit. So some of the stuff we might have to leave over on the Rumble side. But let's get into it and let's get started. Who's here? Who's here? Who's here? Mogwai says Nikki Haley being called a racist, and now she's calling Biden a racist. Will the real racist please stand up? Please stand up. Help us, Edgar. Help us, Edgar. You're our only hope. Well, I think if you're looking for the real racist, you should go and check out one of my best friends in the world, a Mr. Stephen Ignoramus, who would love to have him join, or have you join him on the Daily Ignoramus. Pushing on 1,000 episodes. Awesome. Yeah, I forgot my song lyrics today. Look at how much we've got on the topic here. It slipped. Madcom Mark, is the J for James? It is not. I'm not revealing my first name at this time. It's going to be coming down the pipes at some point. But at this time, I'm going to leave it out at this point. On Kick, Bull Moose Entrapment, with the GIF over there that I've never seen. Thank you. Mogwai says, you listened to the Biden speech and didn't die of cringe. Wow. Yeah, I didn't. Bull Moose Entrapment says, I understand power. Well, thank you for that. And let's get started. All right, starting with some local news. Actually, a little bit of surprise, and I do tend to lead with natural disasters here. By the way, if you are watching this, I have no viewers on Instagram right now, but if you're watching this after the fact on Instagram, remember, you cannot see or hear what we're listening to on the main platforms, and this is a very video-heavy show. Not all of the episodes of Contemporary are very video-heavy. This one is very video-heavy, so you might want to go up in the description and grab that link above you if you're watching the replay on this, and join us over there, because otherwise you're just going to see a lot of this and have no idea what I'm nodding at. All right, out of Wisconsin to start with. Hey, I said that and somebody joined right away. Out of Wisconsin, Crandon area in northern Wisconsin felt 2.5 magnitude earthquake on Sunday morning. From Hope Carnop. A magnitude 2.5 earthquake was detected in the Crandon area in northern Wisconsin on Sunday morning, according to the U.S. Geological Survey. The earthquake hit 4 kilometers, or 2.5 miles if you don't use communist numbers, northeast of Mole Lake. Earthquakes with magnitudes of about 2.5 magnitude or less are usually not felt but can be recorded by the seismograph. Earthquakes between about 2.5 and 5.4 are often felt but cause minimal damage. The Forest County Sheriff's Office shared a Facebook post that it received multiple calls regarding abnormally excessive shaking, vibration coming from the ground. Some commenters said their houses shook or rumbled, while others say they heard loud noise similar to thunder or a large plow truck going by. That's probably pretty apt, except for the fact that there was no snow yet in Wisconsin. We did get a whole bunch last night, though, so. As of around noon on Sunday, 66 citizens reported to the USGS that they felt the earthquake. Most put it in the lowest categories of intensity, from about a 1 to a 4 on a 10-point scale. Those low categories indicate weak or light shaking, with no damage to report. So, I don't even know where they were getting this from. There's no fault line in the Crandon area. I'm familiar with the area. I've been up there a couple times. There's no major fault line. There's no major geological anything up there. But by God, we had an earthquake. Alright, so we have that. Let's see, what else do we have here? Some more natural disaster here. A big gas explosion at the Sandman Signature Hotel in downtown Fort Worth, where we do have injuries and I believe deaths as well. Let's watch.
So what was it? Was it that apartment?
On the other side of the street, something out part of that building is blown out.
Yeah, blew out this. Just
no, on the other side on that street, there's shit blown out too.
There's shit blown out. Look at that.
There must be people stuck in there. Everybody's running back in there.
All right, now with this being said, all of your mainstream outlets are telling us that this is a gas leak. We're going to look at a couple of those in just a second. There is rumor going around online that this was based upon something that happened at the border that I don't know if I can talk about on YouTube, especially given the fact that all the mainstream outlets are saying gas leak at this point. One of the things to note is that one of the names that was hung on the potential suspect that the online rumor mill is pushing forward is a same code name that was used for the Las Vegas shooter, which I'm also not going to say on YouTube because, well, we're going to try and not get this shut down again. But let's read just a bit here from NBC Dallas-Fort Worth. NBC 5, explosion at downtown Fort Worth hotel injures 21. Natural gas leak suspected. And now again, I will tell you from having lived through it, a natural gas leak will fuck you up in a hurry. Having lived in Kenosha, everybody drink. I said I lived in Kenosha at one point. Having lived in Kenosha, I will tell you, we had the big explosion in one of the Kenosha Improvement Group projects where people were sneaking in and stealing the copper fittings for the natural gas. And, well, then the heater kicked on one of them because it was the middle of fucking January, and poof, and a shockwave that is felt all across Kenosha, except for the one person who's sleeping 6 blocks away on a waterbed, apparently. Love this mix. An explosion that blew out at least 2 floors in a high-rise and injured nearly 2 dozen at downtown Fort Worth on Monday is suspected of being caused by a natural gas leak, according to the ATF and Fort Worth Fire Department. The explosion was reported at the Sandman Signature Fort Worth Hotel in the 800 block of Houston Street about 3:30 p.m. Officials confirmed Monday afternoon that 21 people were injured in the blast, including 1 critically and 4 seriously. No deaths, though, thankfully. Glass and exterior walls from at least 2 floors of the building's 8th Street facade were blown out onto the street and into the parking lot on the west side. The damage done to the first floor has been described by officials as tremendous. The explosion appears to have damaged the sidewalk, exposing the building's lower floors. Officials have not yet provided details on damage to the tower's structure. So, this is a developing story. And if it does go in the rumor mill, the way the rumor mill is saying, and it benefits the political agenda right now because we are coming up for primary season, we're probably going to talk about this more. If it does not benefit the current regime, this is going to disappear in a hurry. So that is what we have for that. I have a story that I'm going to gloss over because this is on YouTube and Twitch. Mr. Scott, you might want to go to Rumble for this one. You might. I know you, I'm watching you. 12 arrested after New York synagogue break-in amid secret tunnel dispute. I am going to mince words like you will not believe in this article because I don't know how much of this I can actually say on YouTube. I don't know how much of this is going to fall under the hate speech moniker. This is a hard one. I said on X maybe an hour ago while I was listening to the Biden speech. When I first heard about this, I thought that this was something that was concocted and cooked up in an election year to try to get dissenting voices like Fuentes and Lauren Chen and Steven Crowder kicked off of YouTube going into an election year. I'm still not 100% convinced that's not the fact, by the way. Alright, let's read what we can. We'll go with NPC news because, well, they're NPCs. They're somewhat safe. Brittany Kubiko and Mirna Al-Sharif, 12 Hasidic Jews, were arrested Monday after breaking into the Chabad Lubavitch World Headquarters in Crown Heights, New York, and allegedly damaging the synagogue underneath it, according to officials. Chabad Lubavitch is an Orthodox Hasidic dynasty and one of the largest Jewish religious organizations in the world. This is why I warn people that, at least for the next couple articles, we kind of maybe have to rely on Rumble just a little bit. It's not immediately clear why the worshippers broke into the synagogue, but there has been a dispute over a tunnel secretly dug into the side of the institution, the Associated Press reported. That I can't say. I know I can't read that one. I know for a fact I can't read that. Earlier today, I'm almost a little bit afraid to look to my left right now. Earlier today, a cement truck was brought in to repair all those walls. Can't say that on YouTube. Seligson wrote on his X account, those efforts were disrupted by the extremists who broke through the wall to the synagogue, vandalizing the sanctuary, in an effort to preserve their unauthorized access. According to Seligson, Lubavitch officials tried to gain access to the area around the Brooklyn synagogue through the New York court system, but the process has dragged on for years. This is obviously deeply distressing in the Lubavitch movement and the Jewish community worldwide. We hope and pray to be able to expeditiously restore the sanctity and decorum of this holy place, Seligson wrote. Of the 12, 4 were charged with criminal mischief and the reckless endangerment. 2 were charged with attempted hate crime and criminal mischief. That's walking the line right now. 3 were charged with attempted criminal mischief, and 3 were taken into custody for disorderly conduct, according to the New York Police Department. There is a good chance that I'm going to make something that only goes on Rumble to talk about what was found in these tunnels. Because, again, there is no way whatsoever that YouTube and Twitch are going to allow what I have seen circulating around X and some of the articles that go with this that are not from places like NPC News. There is no way. No, it's real. No, it's absolutely real. It wasn't just a chance thing. So that is what's going on with that. Let's see. I couldn't believe he did it at the same church Dylan Roof pulled his crimes at. Yes, not going to say what he did. Thank you, Mogwai. It starts with an earthquake. Birds and snakes. Lenny Bruce is not afraid. I thought it was birds and snakes and aeroplanes before we found out that Lenny Bruce is not afraid. And Mr. Scott with the continuation. Eye of a hurricane. I was wondering what you were going with Eye of a Hurricane. I saw that out of the corner of my eye. Listen to yourself, turn world service own needs. Don't misserve your own needs. Speed it up a notch, speak, grunt, nose, strength. The ladder starts to clatter with the fear, flight down, height. Mogwai says shalom. And says they were resisting arrest. They were trying to start Hora. And Mad Cow Mark has had to take off. So thank you, Mad Cow Mark, for joining us over here. What was in the tunnels? There is no way I can say that on YouTube, Mr. Scott. There is no way I can get by with that. Cops clash with dozens of Orthodox men in synagogue as riot breaks out over secret underground tunnel. This is from the New York Post, from Rivon Fenton and Kevin Sheehan, Melissa Koenig, and Stephen Janowski. Really? They went with unholy on that one? An unholy riot broke out in a historic Brooklyn synagogue when a group of rogue members armed with shovels dug a secret tunnel to gain access, and cops in hard hats tried to thwart them. Young renegades from the Shabbat Lubavitch movement, wielding very elementary tools, began religiously digging the tunnel under the Sex World headquarters in Crown Heights on Eastern Parkway during the pandemic. No. Can I get away with that? Yeah, I can. No, it wasn't during the pandemic. They found that this is only like 6 months old. This is actually fairly recent. Because higher-ups were dragging their feet on expanding the synagogue sanctuary, sources said. Yeah, there's a lot more going on than this. The idea was to force the establishment into growing the space by essentially starting the effort for it. Beginning with the roughly 3-foot-high, 20-foot-wide, 50-foot-long tunnel, sources said. The crowd keeps getting larger. A source somewhat sympathetic to the rebels' cause told the Post on Tuesday, "It's packed on Shabbos, and during the high holidays, it's unbearable." The rebels described it as in their teens and early 20s first gained entry to the abandoned Jewish men's mikvah, or ritual bath around the corner on Union Street. Yes, it was a sauna, by the way, Mr. Scott. They then broke through the roughly 2x2 metal gate in the former's bath basement and tunneled their way under a sanctuary space reserved for women next door to the synagogue. So, they're going for it. This is also a developing story, by the way, that only showed up at probably about, what was it, like 7, 8 o'clock last night? And again, my big, like Mr. Scott said, he thought it was only on the chance. I thought that this was just a thing to get people like Fuentes and Owen Benjamin and Blonde on the Belly of the Beast kicked off of YouTube before an election year. And you could see why. I don't know why it was 20 feet wide. I don't. But that is as far as I'm going to go on that one. Alright, we got to talk about Iowa. Now, before I talk about Iowa, I want to say this. I am not voting for either candidate at the top of the ticket that are both vying for Iowa right now. Technically, all 5 that are still in are vying for Iowa, and I'm not going to vote for any of those either, but realistically, because of the way that the DeSantis camp has done Iowa, this is a 2-man race for Iowa. This is going to be Trump or DeSantis. I don't think, because Nikki Haley focused all of her ground game on New Hampshire, and I think she's going to take second in New Hampshire. I do. But she has put all of her effort into that state. What I will say before we start talking about the possible outcomes, before we talk about any of this, both Trump and DeSantis have committed sins that have made it so that I cannot vote for them. Trump with his excessive spending, based solely on the fact that, I might lose a point in polling if I don't sign the omnibus, even though I promised I would never sign an omnibus. I might lose a point in polling. And then going and signing the omnibuses over and over again. And DeSantis with SB 269. And it looks like, and I don't have confirmation on this yet, but it does look like he is going to be going into the drug war too, with a new Senate bill that was passed in Florida as well. I cannot support DeSantis. There is no way I can support DeSantis. Nikki Haley's obvious. Chris Christie. I've heard rumors that say that Chris Christie is a plant to try to strengthen MAGA. But for the most part, Chris Christie is just running out there so he can scream how much he hates Trump. And Vivek is not even running for the president. What he's doing right now is his advertising budget for 2025. But if you want to see one of these candidates win, and I'm not going to judge who it is. If you want to see Nikki Haley win, I'm very surprised that you've been on this channel for as long as you have, because I've said horrible things about Nikki Haley. But I'm not going to judge if that's who you want to win. If you want DeSantis to win, I'm not going to judge you. I cannot support DeSantis myself, but I understand why a lot of people like him. If you want Trump to win, I can't support it myself. I understand, especially with as good as our lives were until 2020. I definitely understand why you could support him. I can't. And I don't hold any ill will for you for the fact that you can. If you are in Iowa, or whatever primary state you are in, and you have multiple people on the ballot, and you want to see an outcome that you want, you need to get out and vote. I have friends in the libertarian movement who say, imagine voting. You're just imposing your will on people or attempting to. I can't do that. If you want to see whichever outcome you want to see, you have to vote for it. And you might be disappointed. You might not get it. If you're in Iowa, get to the caucus. If you live in Iowa, get to the caucus and participate in it. If you don't live in Iowa, obviously you cannot participate in the caucus. You can still attend, you can still listen to the speeches, but you cannot participate in it. You can door knock, you can do all kinds of other things, but you cannot participate officially in the caucus. But whatever it is, you do need to get out there and make sure your voice is heard. There has been so much talk, even, by the way, if you think that there's no way, if it's rigged beyond... Can I say that? No, I know I can say that on YouTube now. If you believe that it is rigged beyond life, and that there's no way, if you're completely black-pilled, make it harder for them to do. Give them one more vote that they have to overcome in their honk honk that we probably in the future can't say on YouTube. Make it harder for them. Even if you are completely black-pilled and think that the entire world is against you, it's all over, it can never be done again, still get out there and do it. I will be voting down ballot in Wisconsin when the Wisconsin primary comes around. Even if I cannot vote for who is likely going to be Trump and Nikki Haley at the time, even if I can't vote for either one of those, I will be going all the way down the ballot on my ballot to make sure. So that is my piece on that. My official prediction for Iowa, a week out. Looking at the polling, looking at the activism, looking at the door knocking. I think that Trump beats DeSantis still. As much effort as DeSantis has put into Iowa, I still think that the Donald beats him. But I don't think it is by a very big margin. I've actually revised my margin down. I think it's Trump +3. I think he still pulls it off in a squeaker, but it's not going to be... It's going to be a dead heat squeaker. It might even be closer than that. One of the wild cards, and I said this on a one-off video, is that in Iowa, they say that they moved the caucus. Number one, they eliminated the caucus for the Democrat side entirely, and they're going to have a full-on go out to the ballot box or mail in your ballot primary, like most of the other states that are out there. But they also moved their primary to, I think it's 4th or 5th in the nation instead of 1st, which means the Republican and the Democrat primaries do not happen on the same day in a state where you have to register to your party to participate in the caucus, but you can change your registration the next day. There is going to be an unknown number of Democrats who are participating in the Republican primary. Because they can. And like I said on my one-off video, I know that they'll do it if they can, because in the Wisconsin primary in 2020, I voted for Bernie Sanders. There was no opposition to Trump, and well, I couldn't vote for him anyway because I was against Trump at the time for his spending. I did pull it off and vote for him in the general at the very last second, but I voted for Bernie in the primary. Put another vote in that Joe Biden had to overcome. I still don't think it's going to be enough. I think it's going to be a squeaker. Between 1 and 3 points beating over DeSantis will be Trump. And I believe the two of them will be 10 to 15 points over Haley. And Vivek and Christie are not going to register a pulse. That's my official prediction for Iowa. One thing that I will note here, because I'm actually close to Iowa and I already know this is coming, polar vortex threatens to disrupt Iowa caucuses. Yes, on Monday, where I live, just outside of La Crosse, which is 20 minutes from the Iowa border, by the way. It is a high of -1 for that Monday where the caucus is. And it's not going to be very much warmer in Iowa. This is from Lin Ta. Near blizzard conditions are colliding with GOP primary candidates' final push ahead of the 2024 Iowa caucuses, forcing campaigns to cancel events and change plans. Forecasted frigid weather for the next week could also dampen voter turnout on caucus day on Monday, local analysts say, which it's definitely a possibility. Iowa's under winter storm warning, as 6 to 12 inches of snow are expected across its central and southeastern regions through Tuesday, according to the National Weather Service. The run-up to the caucuses coincides with one of the most active periods of winter weather in recent memory, Axios extreme weather expert Andrew Friedman reports. The snow is expected to be followed by a polar vortex that lingers through the caucus day with single-digit temperatures for the highs and below zero overnight lows. Well, we've got the day of the caucus, like I said before, up here, a little ways north of there. We have a not even going to break zero day predicted for Monday. The campaigns of former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley and former President Trump have both already canceled Iowa events due to weather and travel issues. Ramaswamy will drive to his campaign events this week rather than his typical private plane rides, blowing snow and winds. Gusting as high as 40 miles an hour expected Tuesday, reducing visibility. More frigid temperatures next week could dampen caucus turnout, especially for Trump supporters who assume he's already ahead. Local Democratic political consultant Jeff Link tells Axios. Again, a reminder. It doesn't matter what the weather is. This is going to be a squeaker. If you want your favorite outcome, you need to vote for it. Poor weather is most likely to negatively impact turnout among older Iowans, said Stefan Schmidt, a political science professor at Iowa State. So, we've got that coming. What do we have going off of here? Mogwai says, it is the only time America gives a shit about Iowa election years. Fact check true, by the way. And just I almost moved to Iowa. I could have participated in the caucus if I'd have picked up a different job than the one I picked up. I could have participated in the caucus. Dual Helix says, Free Manning. I was filled with good old boys. The weather wouldn't stop them like it would your regular Obama voter. The Mogwai says, Chris Christie and Lindsey Graham were the two dogs that protected the Zool Trump for his 4 years. Well, Trump would be Gozer in that situation because Lindsey Graham would actually be Zool, the gatekeeper, and Christie would be the keymaster. And by the way, the key goes into the gate, and there's a reason that Rick Moranis was the keymaster and Sigourney Weaver was the gatekeeper. And that is an image that is going to sit in your mind for the rest of this episode. I know, because it's going to sit in mine for the rest of this episode. grab one from Politico. As Iowa caucuses loom, Trump urges his supporters to vote, vote, vote. From Maya Ward. As Trump makes his final pitch to Iowa voters ahead of the January 15th caucuses, the most unconventional of candidates delivered a time-honored plea to his supporters on Saturday. Get out and vote. Don't just stay home, okay? Just please. The polls are showing that we're going to win by a lot. The worst thing you can do is say, let's just stay home, Alice. Let's watch it on television. We don't want to do that. That's the worst. You don't want to do that. You got to get out, because the more we win by, we're shooting for November, because we want to send a message. We can't be beaten. Trump hit Sioux City and Mason City on Friday before swinging through central Iowa and ending with a Saturday rally in the state's east side, where attendees braced for the cold for hours to ensure they would gain entry later that afternoon. The former president's message came just 9 days before the voting begins, offering the nation the first read on how the primary battle will unfold. Trump's series of commit to caucus events comes with his campaign seeks to turn out thousands of first-time caucus goers, the former president's behalf, an effort to tamp down the momentum of other GOP candidates and to set an early tone for the general election. Pretend you're a point down. You're 1 point down. You have to get out, because you're 1 point down. And you have to vote, vote, vote. You're 1 point down. 1 point down is the worst. You never want to do that. Trump, who maintains a commanding lead in the state, dinged at top GOP rivals, Florida man Ron DeSantis and war pig Nikki Haley, were also campaigning in Iowa as they battle it out for second place. That was linguistic propaganda, by the way. Politico wanting to get its readers, whether they support Politico or are detractors of Politico, to think basically like Trump doesn't want them to think. Oh yeah, it's in the bag and it's going to be really cold. Oh, I don't know if we can get out for this one. Isn't MASH on? Hey Alice, let's watch MASH. Our people have enthusiasm. Some of the other GOP campaigns are lacking, Trump said, which, again, for Iowa is not true. Now, even though there are no articles on this particular stack about Ron DeSantis put all of his chips into Iowa, which I think was stupid. I mean, for God's sakes, if it was me, I would have put them all into New Hampshire before Iowa. Because typically, whoever wins Iowa doesn't go on to be the nominee. Iowa's fickle about that, and again, with the commanding lead, I still think that's the only reason that Trump pulls it off in Iowa. But it's going to be at a razor's margin when he does. And I'm fully prepared for myself to be wrong. That's why I put the margin so razor thin, is because I'm fully prepared for it to be the other way. I don't think it's going to be a blowout against him. But I'm fully prepared to see the insufferability of DeSantis fans if DeSantis pulls and ekes out a half a point lead in the state. His speech hit a number of familiar themes, from the southern border to inflation and attacks against President Biden, who Trump painted as an incompetent president, which again is good. He needs to keep his focus on Biden and not the other candidates, because remember, just like I said about DeSantis, when DeSantis wouldn't name Trump by name at the last debate, if he does win the primary, he needs all those DeSantis people to get out and vote for him in the general in order to win. And not stay home and say, oh, well, a Trump person called me a mean thing on X, so I can't go and support him. He does need those people, and he knows it. So that is what we have for that. I'm going to skip that ABC one because it's basically, oh, well, Trump said voting doesn't matter in Georgia during the runoff, and now he thinks it matters. It's hopium and copium is what it is. Let's grab one from Fox Business, though. U.S. farmers warn Biden's economy spells destruction ahead of 2024 caucuses. Yeah, I could see that. From Kristen Altus. With the Republican Iowa caucuses just a week away, Hawkeye State farmers are revealing how the 24 election will serve as a pivotal moment for the economy and agricultural industry. I'm afraid if we keep heading down this path, we've got a lot of destruction ahead, fifth-generation farmer Rick DeGroot told Fox Business's Grady Trimble. U.S. Department of Agriculture data estimates the production cost for farmers increased by about $15 billion, with a B in 2023. Additionally, American corn producers reportedly worry the Biden admin's electric vehicle push will drastically reduce demand for corn-based ethanol, which is used to power gas engines. Cheap and sweet corn, but yes, that is a... It's not the reality you think that it is, because even with Biden pushing and pushing and pushing as much as he is, the demand is still not out there. So that's one thing you don't have to worry about with this. But although Iowa's farmland stays mostly barren in the dead of winter, its political landscape is anything but, as DeGroot represents one of the many industry leaders who feel at a crossroads in the upcoming election. Most of our corn goes to ethanol, and without that, it would cripple the farm economy, DeGroot added. Iowa's weird, too, by the way. As far as farming goes, Iowa is the one place in the world that I have ever seen that can get away with not doing crop rotation. It defies the laws of farming and agriculture. I've never seen a place like that can do that. They can plant corn in every field over and over again. We can't do that here. If we planted corn 2 years in a row in a field in Wisconsin, it'd go barren. I've never understood how Iowa does that. It seems like that we're an easy scapegoat for a population that's looking for someone to blame, and knowing full well that we really don't have a big voice, said Kyle Memon of the MBS Family Farms. For the first time in its 55-year history, the North American Electric Reliability Corp, or NERC, reported its annual winter reliability assessment that energy policy is one of the top threats to U.S. power grid due to the Biden admin's green agenda. It also said the key factors contributing to the risk are increasing demand for electricity to power things like electric vehicles, decreasing generation due to the premature closure of coal and gas-fired power plants. Very true as well. When Trimble polled a focus group of 6 Iowa farmer constituents, 4 Republicans answered that they stand undecided over which candidate to support as the party's presidential nominee. Well, you are going to have to face infrastructure for electricity demand sooner or later. I mean, we saw lower electricity demand as we moved on into things like lithium-ion batteries and smartphones that can last for hours and charge up very quickly, flat-screen TVs, Energy Star appliances, and things like that put a reduced draw on electricity. So we still have some of the infrastructure there, but a reminder that these electric vehicles take a lot of electricity. And I still say to this day, offer the electric vehicles and let the market decide. Make sure that you have a couple on the lot where people can impulse buy them. But temper your expectations that not everybody wants them. In fact, very few people do want them. Let the people who want them get their hands on them, absolutely. Alright, what else do we have? Ramaswamy news. Ramaswamy focuses on non-traditional GOP voters and final Iowa push. There are a lot of people that are trying to claim that he is a libertarian. He's not. Vivek Ramaswamy is not running for the presidency. Vivek Ramaswamy is advertising. And in 2025, I will bet dollars to dimes, he has some product or service that MAGA cannot live without. And he's going to come in and say, do you want to buy this product, this good or service from people who hate you? Or do you want to buy it from somebody who is non-woke? Yeah, I know it costs a little bit extra, but we'll do it for someone who's non-woke, like me. Look at me, I supported Trump through this whole thing, even though I was running against him. That's what Ramaswamy is doing right now. Amber Douglas wanted to ask Vivek about his outreach to young voters like herself. Douglas, a 33-year-old lifelong Iowa resident, first caucused in 2008 when she was 17 for then-Senator Barack Obama and voted for Democrats in every subsequent election until 22. When she voted for Republican Governor Kim Reynolds in this year's caucuses, she plans to support Ramaswamy. And yet if you ask Democrats, they will say that she was never a Democrat, ever. I'm not lying either, by the way. Yet, as she asked her question on Friday to Ramaswamy, she made a biting observation about dozens gathered there. There were more members of the media in attendance than young voters, a fact that caused her some concern. Douglas personifies the young, independent-minded voters and the first-time Republican caucus goers Ramaswamy has been working to engage throughout the campaign. But Douglas said she felt disheartened by her lack of peers at the event. I really wish that, there were more of me, she said after the town hall. It's sad to me that there was more press in the seats than young voters. And by the way, if CNN had left just this word out of here, I would not have read it like that. So blame that on CNN, not me. Despite the underwhelming showing in Ames, the Ramaswamy campaign heads to the final week of campaigning ahead of Iowa's caucuses by betting that they can turn out more voters like Douglas on the night of. The campaign is investing in a full-tilt strategy to engage what it sees as its core constituency, largely made up of traditionally low-propensity voters with targeting advertising, robust get-out-the-vote efforts, along with non-stop grassroots campaigning, all in an effort to pull off what Ramaswamy predicts will be a major surprise on January 15th. It won't be. It won't be. The campaign recently pivoted its advertising strategy away from television advertising, a staple of campaigns, and instead is leaning into targeted digital advertising along with mailers and radio ads. A senior official with the Ramaswamy campaign told CNN. So he's looking for the youth. He is looking to try to pull some of the libertarian side of that if he is even running for president. Again, I don't think he is. I think that this is all because what he is advertising to is cheaper to go and run for president. When politics has become our new entertainment, our new movies. And has a better outreach too, by the way. A bigger outreach. He's going to be on Timcast on Caucus Day. And Candace Owens will be joining him. Because that's exactly what he needs. Candace Owens will hit the campaign trail with Vivek in Iowa in the days before the caucuses. From Caitlin Corrale, U.S. political reporter for DailyMail.com. In a one-day four-city swing, conservative commentator Candace Owens will join 2024 hopeful Vivek Ramaswamy on the campaign trail in Iowa. Warning, just a warning. As of now, if you oppose Vivek Ramaswamy, Candace Owens will dox you. She does not take being told that she's wrong very well, and she will dox you and put your information out there. Just a warning. Owens was an initial critic of Trump before backing him in 2016 and 2020. The influential, in quotes, talking head among conservatives said in November that she is endorsing Ramaswamy. Her full-fledged backing, but not an official endorsement, of the self-made millionaire came after NBC News debate in Miami. Ramaswamy was at possibly his most popular among the Republican voting bloc around this time, and had several viral moments of the showdown. So, well, he's doomed. Thanks, Candace. What would make you immortal if you got doxxed by Candace Owens? Now, even though I've been critical of Vivek at this point, we do have some video of him shredding the media like a boss. Let's listen.
Let's talk about what white supremacy and what happened last night for a moment, because when you were talking to reporters last night, you called white supremacy a myth. When someone asked you about Dylan Roof, you said you didn't know who that is. Have you looked up what happened in 2015?
Yeah, look, I said this last night. Invidious racial discrimination is wrong no matter how it happens. But if a Washington Post reporter is asking me almost like a catechism, whatever question I said, I'm against invidious racial discrimination, whatever form it takes, but says, do you denounce white supremacy? It's incumbent on us for us to define what white supremacy is. I wrote my book, Woke Inc., and I've written about the detailed understanding of what the popular understanding of these terms have come to mean. Do you believe punctuality is a vestige of white supremacy, Dasha?
Look,
because if you don't, then you have a disagreement about many of the people who are defining those terms, or the written word, or the use, or the nuclear family. These aren't my words. These are the words of intellectual proponents from Ibram Kendi to the Ayanna Presleys to BLM that have said these are vestiges of white supremacy. So
Mr.
we
Ramaswamy,
can't have it both ways.
What you do, though,
we have to have
you
an honest discussion.
Straw man arguments.
This
Last
is not
night
a straw man.
you
This is
brought
not
up
a straw
Jussie
man.
Smollett as the best
Jussie
example
Smollett
of white
was the hottest thing in
supremacy.
news in the back of a fake actual attack on him that we have to contend with.
And yet you have examples like the Buffalo shooter in New York just in 2022.
You have other examples.
But you are also cherry picking when you bring up Jussie Smollett.
I'll look at all of the statistics. More black on black crime. If you really care about actual crime against black Americans, let's get to the root causes of it in the inner cities of this country.
The Anti-Defamation League tracked a 38% increase in white supremacist propaganda last year.
Who's tracking that?
The Anti-Defamation League.
Yeah, the ADL I don't think is a particularly credible source
so
when they have cherry-picked information.
So who are we supposed to look to when we're talking about
I would suggest look at there's a table, 2x2 table, federal law enforcement data, which you could say what you do. Maybe we shouldn't believe that either. But look at black on Asian crime, black on black crime,
the FBI
white on
hate
black
crime statistics. That's a law enforcement agency. 59.1% was based on race, ethnicity, and ancestry, saying hate crimes rose 12% between 2020 and 2021.
Look at the absolute crimes themselves. What they classify as a hate crime is itself a political judgment. I think that when you actually care about protecting life, if you want to say Black Lives Matter, let's look at where black lives are actually being lost. It's in the cities, at the heart of other black Americans and criminals that are restrained by the absence
that we talk about as well. But are we supposed to ignore white supremacist hate crimes?
We're not supposed to ignore any kind of crime, Dasha. That's what I say. But what I see is a selective reporting. Take the Nashville Transgender Shooter Manifesto. Every shooter manifesto in a mass shooting has been released within 48 hours, except for that one shooter in Nashville. Now, it ended up being leaked. What do you see? It wasn't a white supremacist. It was somebody that was actually making fun of using derogatory terms. I believe.
So why are you okay talking about that manifesto and not talking about the manifesto from the 2015?
I'm more than okay talking about both. But what I'm asking is, why is the mainstream media suppress that one? Why did the police suppress that one? Why was that the one shooter manifesto that of all of the mass shootings, every other shooter manifesto has been released? I'm focused on that one because that's the one that's been hidden from us. And it comes back to the point of my candidacy and the way I'm going to run this country. Trust the people with the truth. If it doesn't match your narrative,
the reality is right now,
I think the media did not hold the police accountable. They would have been demanding that.
Starting to gain traction with the black community, with Latino voters. Do not worry that your rhetoric is pushing them away. There are folks
to the contrary. I think we're going to bring black people into this movement.
Who are concerned about your rhetoric.
Well, you know what? I'm concerned about their corruption. If you had somebody who actually one of the most prominent black influencer the other day, what did she say? I've been black my whole life, and this man could actually unify this country in response to a long exchange I had with a black pastor who at an event here in Iowa did challenge me with a hard question, asking me, are my views against affirmative action, how do those align with historical racial injustice?
Affirmative action is a debate that is being had.
If I may just finish this. If I may finish my point,
Dasha.
With racism, I think I will be better positioned.
But you're denying that racism is a problem.
I've never denied that racism is a problem. And if you listen to the response I gave to that black pastor, my whole point is racism has been a major problem for most of our national history. But we're getting close to the promised land that Martin Luther King envisioned. We're as darn close to it as we ever have been. And so what bothers the heck out of me is it's right when we're close to that promised land. Martin Luther King said it, I may not get there with you, and he didn't get there with us. But I think it desecrates the legacy of our civil rights movement, desecrates the legacy of Martin Luther King, that right when we get closest to the point of having racial equality and gender equality and even opportunities for people of minorities of many types, are we perfect? No. But are we as close as we've ever been? Yes, we have. To then obsess over systemic racism, to then obsess over white guilt and otherwise, We're creating new waves of racism, Dasha, that we otherwise would have avoided right when we're closest to having achieved what even the proponents of the civil rights movement would have dreamed of. That's what bothers me. My exchange with that black pastor about a week or so ago, right here in Iowa, not far from where we are, it was in Indianola, not far from where we are in Des Moines, was that we're founded on the pursuit of a more perfect union, the pursuit of liberty, equality, and justice for all. And I reject this left-wing narrative that's creating more artificial division. So I believe I will bring more black and Hispanic voters into our movement, not by saying fake poll-tested slogans, but by speaking the hard truth, that we've been imperfect in our past, but let us celebrate the progress we've made and reject the media's cherry-picking narratives to actually get to the truth of the matter. And now if we care about black lives, the things we're going to do isn't obsessing about white supremacy. It's actually fixing the problems in our cities, which I will do as our president.
I know I took the more of a clip than I usually would for that, but I mean, he's got it right. I don't know if that's poll tested. I don't know if that's what he really feels, or again, if this is an advertising budget, but I mean, he's right on the needle with that one. And Mr. Scott said if he had said the same thing, he'd smack his own ass as he walked off the frame. I would do it for you. All right, what else do we have? For Haley news. And then we'll get to the grand distraction. Under attack over slavery, Haley comes out swinging in Iowa. Takeaways from her town hall. We'll gloss over this one from Francesca Chambers. Former Governor Nikki Haley frantically sought to regain her footing during a televised town hall with Iowa voters on Monday, in which she accused her political rivals of distorting her positions. They probably have, but it's your real positions that are damning. With a week left to persuade the state's Republicans to caucus on her behalf, Haley came out swinging during the event, which was put on by Fox News over controversial comments she made about the cause of the Civil War during a campaign event last month. I still say that was a Biden plan, by the way. Haley did not initially cite slavery as a driver for the fighting. She has repeatedly sought to amend the remarks, but it's too little too late. They drew a cloak rebuke from President Biden, because of course they did. Haley hit back later the day, invoking past comments Biden has made by saying, "I don't need someone who pulled around with segregationists in the 70s. Blah, 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 blah. Biden's missing Pentagon chief. Haley sought to turn the tables on Biden for the Pentagon's failure to immediately disclose Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin's hospitalization to the White House and the public last week. Biden should be fired, Haley said at the town hall. This is unbelievable. The incident showed that Biden isn't speaking to his Pentagon chief every day. She added, piling on, the former UN ambassador suggested Biden doesn't know what's going on in his own government. Well, we know that in a Haley government, she'd be speaking to the Pentagon chief every day because she'd be over there jonesing and itching and saying, "Can we bomb something? Come on. Come on. I know you got the bombs, man. We gotta drop a bomb, man. I need to see Middle Eastern children die, man. Come on!" So you know she'd be talking to the Pentagon chief every day. Haley accuses her opponents of lying. Haley spent the first half of the hour-long town hall urgently trying to set the record straight about her presidential platform. If you're defending, you're losing. Her toughest critique of the night of former President Trump came when she was defending herself against an attack ad funded by a pro-Trump super PAC that portrays her as soft on illegal immigration. Fact check true, by the way. Maybe. I might get a hit pop for that one. Just because President Trump says something doesn't make it true, Haley charged. No, but the rest of us seeing how you actually are with it does make it true. I appreciate all that President Trump has given me. It's quite sweet and thoughtful of him, but he's lying about it. Haley also called Florida man desperate for trying to link her to former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. in spite of the fact that she's recycling Hillary Clinton's campaign. He's also lying, she said, although comments the former Democratic nominee for president made about women seeking elected office motivated her to enter politics. Haley stressed that she does not share Clinton's views on policy issues. Bullshit! Abortion rights. Haley was asked to clarify her position on abortion rights, an issue that could help her win over more women. It's a trap. She restated her belief that Congress can come to a consensus on some aspects of abortion regulations. Legislation mandating an abortion ban could not pass the U.S. Senate without an overhaul of the rules. It's a trap. If elected, Haley pledged to support whatever the federal legislation earns in the support of 60 or more senators. Dear GOP, you campaigned for 60 years on pushing abortion back into a states' rights issues. Now that you've gotten your way and it's been pushed back into a states' rights issues, stop trying to mandate it and regulate it federally. Sincerely yours, J. Edgar. Fuckwits. Republicans are still undecided. I'm pretty sure they've full out rejected Nikki Haley at this point. Now let's talk about the big distraction. "17-year-old kills 6th grader, wounds 5 others in Iowa school shooting, police say." Now there's a reason that you haven't heard very much about this. Nicholas Ricardo and Hannah Fingerhut reporting a 17-year-old opened fire at a small town Iowa high school 6 miles away from Des Moines before classes resumed on the first day after winter break, killing a 6th grader and wounding 5 others. On Thursday, students barricaded in office, ducked into classrooms, and fled in panic. The suspect, a student at the school in Perry, died of what investigators believe is a self-inflicted gunshot wound. It wasn't. That's tinfoil hat, by the way. The official narrative is that, yes, he shot himself. I don't believe that he did. Again, I think that dead men tell no tales, and they have to make sure that he can't testify. Authorities said that one of the 5 people wounded was an administrator, later identified by his alma mater as Perry High School principal Dan Marburger. The authorities identified the shooter as Dylan Butler, 17, and provided no information about a possible motive. 2 friends and their mother who spoke with the Associated Press said Butler was a quiet person who had been bullied for years. We're going to get to how he got from point A to point B, by the way, in just a moment. Perry has about 8,000 residents and is about 40 miles northwest of Des Moines. On the edge of the state's capital's metropolitan area, it's home to a large pork processing plant and low-slung single-story homes spread among trees now shorn of their leaves by winter. Blah 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 blah. This did not go anywhere because the shooter was an LGBTQIAMIGITXBYAEIOU, sometimes Y member. And we'll see what else came out of this in just a moment. Oh, hey! Breaking, the FBI was warned about the trans-Iowa shooter before the shooting. He'd been posting disturbing messages on Discord and someone reported to the FBI. The FBI never responded. We've got another archive that didn't archive, by the way. Parents released a statement from KCCI 8 trying to make sense out of the senseless. Parents of Perry High School shooter Dylan Butler released public statement. The parents of a 17-year-old high school student who killed 1 person and injured 7 others in a shooting last week released a public statement on Monday afternoon. Authorities say Dylan Butler had a pump-action shotgun and a small caliber handgun. Also part of the reason, by the way, that this didn't hit the news, because it wasn't the scary AR-style rifle. When he shot and killed 11-year-old Amir Joliffe before classes started Thursday morning, January 4th, Butler wounded 7 others, including 4 students, 3 staffers, before killing himself. Honk, honk. Authorities have provided no information about a possible motive or how Butler, who they believe acted alone, obtained the firearms. I know. Pick me, I know. The full statement from Jack and Aaron Butler. From the office of Mark Powell, attorney for Jack and Aaron Butler. As the minutes and hours have passed since the horrors of our son Dylan inflicted on the victims, the Perry School and the community, we have been trying to make sense out of the senseless. We are simply devastated, and our grief for the deceased, his family, the wounded, and their families is immeasurable. When we dropped off our son for school on January 4th, we had no inkling he intended the horrible violence he was about to inflict. On the way to school, Dylan had been discussing with us the future plans, and it felt like he was ready to get back to school after Christmas vacation and the start of a new semester. Dylan's sister, our daughter, was in the school at the same time of the shooting. We simply do not understand how this could happen and why Dylan chose to do what he did. Perry is our home and beloved community. We would never wish the harm and pain that Dylan's actions caused on anyone, and we could not have imagined that Dylan could carry out such a heinous act. Our family has to mourn and bury our son and live with his terrible legacy. We cannot repay the grace that we've been shown in public and private. We are helping authorities and will continue to help provide answers to the questions of why our son committed the senseless crimes. Through God's grace, we hope that the answers can be found and that those answers will prevent other young people from harming others. At this time, our family will have no further comment. That is such a canned response. I can't even take anything out of it. Now, the tragedy of losing a child, of course, and having it attempted to be publicized for a very brief moment. And by the way, as the caucus gets underway, they are going to be asking about this. I'm a little surprised they did not ask about this at the Haley Town Hall. I thought for sure there was going to be a question about this. But again, the big part of this is this did not happen with the fabled, legendary AR-style rifle. So But what is this? From NPC News, Iowa school shooter appeared to be active on Discord and discussed gearing up in the moments before the attack. Now, what do we know about Discord and mass shooters? Does anybody know? I'll actually give you guys a minute. What do we know about Discord and mass shooters, particularly when we talk about Uvalde and Buffalo? Give you guys just a minute to see if you can answer that one. I know the answer right here, right now. While I'm waiting for that, the Mogwai says, I think this was a who cares from the media because he only killed one. The Bloodlust media, that's a good name for them, by the way, wants a body count. I've got this feeling there was a big intent for there to be a body count. His LGBTQ ABCDEFG is a red herring. No, it's a good way for them to drop the story because it didn't go the way that they had intended. Okay. Now that I've given you a few minutes to come back and catch up. Hey, there seems to be an awful lot of Discord use. Right before there's a big school shooting, Audrey Hale was an active Discord user before this. The Buffalo shooter and the Uvalde shooter, oddly enough, were both in the same Discord server with a former FBI agent. I think a motive is starting to form here. Hey, kid. Oh, yeah. No. Hey, I know. You've been so bullied. It's so terrible. There. We're here for you. Hey, I bet you if you go down to this gun store down the road here, they'll look the other way if you go out and... Hey, I'll show you how to get a fake ID and get in there. From Ben Goggin, the Iowa gunman who opened fire at Perry High School last week appeared to have an active account on the internet chat platform Discord, where he previously discussed school shootings and described gearing up moments before Thursday's attack, NBC News has learned. Dylan Butler killed 6th grader Amir Joliffe and injured 4 other students and 3 staff members, including Principal Dan Marburger, before he died of self-inflicted gunshot wounds. Police said they also found an improvised explosive device at the scene. Law enforcement is reviewing Butler's use of social media and tech platforms, including Discord, according to one person close to the investigation. In the minutes leading up to the shooting, Butler posted a video to TikTok from an account with username Took Too Much. In what appeared to be a school bathroom, the Discord account that appeared to be posting about the shooting used the same Took Too Much. A Discord spokesperson confirmed to NPC that the company believes Took Too Much screen name belonged to Butler. NPC News viewers viewed screenshots of a series of messages from the account to a group of online friends in Discord saying the user was at the school and ready for what's to come. 10 minutes later, the user wrote, "I'm fucking nervous. I'm in the bathroom gearing up." The account also used a racial slur, writing 2 minutes. Wow. This is the reason that I think this was set up by the FBI to be a campaign platform to take down Republicans at the Iowa caucuses, because he used a racial slur in a bathroom. I need him to leave so I can assemble my guns. To my FBI agent right now, by the way. Hi, Gary. Hey, little Tommy, do you want some free... What? No, not drugs. I'm not an asshole, kid. Jeez, I wanted to give you a Glock. Wow, who gives out drugs for free? Thank you, Mogwai, for that. So, and this one went away just about as fast as it popped out here. But not before the Biden and Harris HQ could get a quote from Trump. Which to me was kind of a dumb moment. And hey, look, it's only 10 seconds. That sure sounds like out of context.
It's horrible to see that happening. That's just horrible. So surprising to see it here. But have to get over it. It's horrible to see that.
Now, the longer speech, which of course has been scrubbed from the internet, talks about moving on from this and trying to move forward from this instead of taking people's rights away. But, you know, what's a 10-second soundbite? All right. I got a little bit more election news, and we got to talk about January the 6th and the Biden speech. Another one out of my local jurisdiction. Racine absentee voting ban illegal. Wisconsin judge rules, from Scott Bauer over the Associated Press. A Wisconsin judge ruled on Monday the state law does not allow for the use of mobile absentee voting sites, siding with Republicans who had challenged the city of Racine's use of a voting van that traveled around the city in 2022. You know what's also probably not legal in this state? Democracy in the Park in Madison, in Kenosha, and Milwaukee. Republicans opposed the use of the van, the only one of its kind in Wisconsin, saying its use was against the law, increased the chances of voter fraud, and was used to bolster Democratic turnout. No, it's vote early and vote often, Mogwai. Racine officials, the DNC, and the Milwaukee-based voting advocacy group, Black Leaders Organizing for Communities, refuted those claims and defended the legality of the ban, saying there was no specific prohibition against it. The lawsuit over the mobile voting ban is one of several in battleground Wisconsin that could affect voting rules in the upcoming presidential election. So, that'll be one that'll be taken down. Now, the state is still honk fortified, especially now that Protasewicz is on the Supreme Court, so we'll see where this goes. But again, if you are in Wisconsin and you want your voice heard or the chance to have your political whim enacted, you do still have to get out and vote. No matter how much you think it's in the bag, or no matter how much you think that the deck is stacked against you, you have to go and work for it. You have to put in the effort for it. So I have this creepy white van that used to say free candy. I made it better. Now it says free votes. I don't know if I could have said that one on YouTube, but I don't care at this point. Another one from my state. Lawsuit filed to bar Trump from Wisconsin ballot. Hold on. I gotta get the picture, because we know who this gentleman is. We've talked about this one before. I can't believe I didn't come back out and put this one up beforehand. And I know I should have, because I knew I was going to be talking about this jack-off. No, I don't want the little image. There we go. I want the full-size image. Lawsuit filed to bar Trump from Wisconsin ballot. From Benjamin Cadigan and the Associated Press. The question of removing former President Trump from presidential ballots has been addressed in multiple states across the country. Now the discussion is coming to Wisconsin. A lawsuit was filed on Friday through the Dane County Circuit Court to remove Trump from the ballot, after, by the way, this gentleman failed with the Wisconsin Election Commission's first. Minocqua Brewing Company owner Kirk Bangstad cited the holy gospel of the 14th Amendment, which concerns insurrection. We're arguing he's unqualified to run for president because he aided and abetted the insurrection on January 6, which clearly in the 14th Amendment in Article 3 says you can't do that and still run for federal office. Tony Evers, of course, opposes keeping Trump off the ballot in the battleground state, saying that those who think that he should be disqualified can vote against him. As much as I disagree with Tony Evers, what have I said numerous times before? That is the right answer. We can beat him at the ballot box. We don't need the legalese to get in front of him. That is a rare point of agreement from me for Mr. Tony Evers. Reminder who this guy is, because we only talked about it last week. That's this guy right here with the Mandela Mash and the extinct elephant and 3 flavors of choice. Biden beer, Kamala, because that's how you're supposed to pronounce it. Bernie Brew, AOC IPA, Evers Ale, Tammy Shandy, and Filibuster Ale. The one we don't see up here off of his misguided brewing company is Bear Maps. Yes, that's this asshole. Mogwai, are you cringing again? I know you're cringing again. I want the full size. I heard that the other night. She was disappointed when I said it was. Ooh, poor Mogwai. Ohio transgender candidate disqualified from state ballot for omitting her former name. From the Associated Press. Despite receiving enough signatures to appear on the ballot, a transsexual woman has been disqualified from an Ohio House race because she omitted her previous name, raising concerns that other transgender candidates nationwide may face similar barriers. Vanessa Joy was one of 4 transgender candidates running for state office in Ohio, largely in response to proposed restrictions on the rights of the LGBTQI/RA/MIGI/XDBY AEIOU, sometimes Y. But as Joy found out Tuesday, a little-known 1990 state law says a candidate must provide any name changes within the last 5 years to qualify for the ballot. Yes, that is right. In spite of the fact, by the way, if I ever ran for office, that all of my campaign stuff would say, vote J. Edgar. We have the same law in Wisconsin, and if I filed in Wisconsin, I would have to file. Well, I have not legally changed my name anyway, so that's completely different entirely, but it would still say Edgar on the ballots. So that one's out. Okay, I was not expecting that one. The Mogwai says she tried to run but got kicked due to her hanging chad. Did not see that one coming. And in Lake County, just over the border in Illinois, as Election Day 2024 approaches, Lake County automates vote-by-mail process. From John Garcia. As the March primary draws nearer, the new state-of-the-art vote processing center is now open in Lake County. It automates the entire vote-by-mail process, which is becoming more popular. Now, this is Illinois. This is not going to affect the outcome of the general at all. So do keep that in mind as they go. In an hour, the machines do the work it used to take several Lake County employees several days. They can print, track, and send out mail ballots to the voters. Emphasis on the print. Every part of the process that was done by a person, not only does that take a lot of time, but it makes it difficult to verify the accuracy of that process, said Val Guillet with Bluecrest. Couple more here. This one, by the way, Libs of TikTok completely exaggerated this one. They made it sound like Biden just dumped 1,000 people in Whitewater in a day. No, this has gone on for 2 years now. Libs of TikTok says, welcome to the small college town of Whitewater, Wisconsin, with a population of just 15,000 people. Biden just flooded the town with 1,000 illegals. The city says they do not have the capacity or resources to handle it. Some illegals are reportedly sleeping in sheds in freezing temperatures. The city's reported an uptick in crime since the illegals arrived, including assault, kidnapping, and traffic citations. Now, WKOW does verify that this is both happening, but is not to the extreme that Libs of TikTok put that down. Whitewater police call on President Biden for help addressing immigration-related challenges, and the help never came. The Whitewater Police Department is asking President Biden for help addressing the city's immigration challenges. In a letter to the president, Chief Daniel Meyer said the city has seen a boom in immigration populations since early 2022, notably from Nicaragua and Venezuela. Meyer said it's estimated that 800 to 1,000 immigrants have arrived to the city since then, so essentially just a little bit over 2 years. Whitewater had a population of around 14,300 in 2021. Fact check true. Whitewater used to be the next town over from where I used to live before I moved to this side of the state. Drink a lot of beer in Whitewater. Drink a lot of scotch in Whitewater too. Even smoked a couple cigars in Whitewater. Meaning the estimated influx is roughly 6.9% increase in the population. Meyer said that no matter the individual's reasons for coming to Whitewater, their arrival has put a great strain on the city's resources. So, it is pushing, and by the way, it's going to affect how the districts are laid out with the new maps. But we will continue to watch this and see where it goes. And lastly, from the Hill, 1/3 of adults in new poll say Biden's election was illegitimate. Honk honk. Sarah Fortinsky reporting for the Hill. About 1/3 of U.S. adults say they believe President Biden was not legitimately elected president of the U.S. in 2020, according to a poll released this week. The Washington Post, University of Maryland Post UMD surveys examines evolving views of the January 6th Selfie Fest. As the 3rd anniversary of the Selfie Fest is coming up on Saturday, a similar poll was conducted in December of 2021. And you can actually see where it starts to move up here. As of last month, 62% of adults say they believe Biden was legitimately elected, down from 69% overall in 2021. Well, again, I will point out the fact that I have my doubts about what happened in 2020, but what I will say about this is there's nothing that we can do about it to change what happened in 2020. Once he put his hand on the Bible and said, "I promised to uphold the thing, man," he was in, and there was no constitutional mechanism to change the party affiliation of who was in the office. They could impeach and remove, but then the task would fall to Kamala Harris. There's no way, once he put his hand on the Bible, to overturn the 2020 election. But you take what you find as you analyze what happened in the 2020 election, and if you're dissatisfied with it, you write to your legislature and you make new laws to change that, so you don't get it in 2024. Speaking of Biden gave a speech in Valley Forge this past week, talking about the horrors of the insurrection. At Valley Forge, yes, he went through that irony to give that speech in Valley Forge, where the people who were insurrecting against the British government had their armory. He gave a speech outlining the horrors of insurrection, where the U.S. insurrection against Britain started. Think about that one. But we've got some clips for it. Again, I will point out, I listened to all 34 minutes of the speech before we got started today. When I got home, I sat down and I listened to that while I was organizing tabs, because these were all over the place before I sat down. So we're going to listen to a couple clips of this here. Let's get the music down. Let's have a listen. Oops, that one. Jack Smith warns if Trump is reelected, he could use the State of the Union address to incite his supporters to kill opposing politicians. You know, kind of like the speech that we're about to listen to in segments. All right. First thing, President Biden, with a post from the official presidential account, says, "Hey man, we will honor the sacred cause of democracy, man." Which is code for our hegemony, of course. Not walk away from it. With a direct quote from the speech that says, "Hey, you can't be pro-insurrection and pro-America." You know, again, in spite of the fact that our nation was founded in an insurrection against Britain. Let's look at the clips. First one here says, "Slap a mustache on him and call him Dementia Hitler," which has been trending all week, ever since this the speech came out. Let's listen to this clip.
We have fewer democracies in the world today than we did 15 years ago. Fewer. Not more, fewer. We have fewer.
Come Come on, Tweeps. I know a bunch of aren't really here asking if this is edited. It's not edited, by the way. No. Again, listen to the whole speech. That was definitely in there. 35-second clip here that says, there's no confusion about who Trump is and what he intends to do. So therefore, we must jail him and put all of his supporters into camps.
He calls those who oppose him vermin. He talks about the blood of America as being poisoned, echoing the same exact language used in Nazi Germany. He proudly posts on social media the words that best describe his 2024 campaign, quote, revenge, quote, power, and quote, dictatorship. There's no confusion about who Trump is, what he intends to do.
Hold on. Let me mute this for a sec. Let me try something here.
Dass dieses Volk einst nicht verweichlicht wird, sondern dass es hart sein kann. Und ihr müsst euch in der Jugend dafür stehlen. Ihr müsst lernen, Entbehrungen auf euch zu nehmen.
Man, that fits. Why does that fit so well? And this is a major leftoid account over on X that tells us that Biden almost slipped. Well, Jesus, like, oh, Biden almost slips up and calls Trump a sick fuck. More angry Biden, please. As she runs off and touches herself for this. I know this is a woman-run account. I've seen the face of the person behind it.
You can't be pro-insurrectionist and pro-American. And yet Trump and his MAGA supporters not only embrace political violence, but they laugh about it. At his rally, he jokes about an intruder, whipped up by the big Trump lie, taking a hammer to Paul Pelosi's skull, and echoing the very same words used on January 6th. Where's Nancy? And he thinks that's funny. He laughed about it. What a sick... My God. I think it's despicable, seriously. Not just for a president, for any person to say that. But to say it to the whole world listening. When I was overseas, anyway.
That wasn't actually in the speech. He just forgot what his place was.
Verweichlicht wird, sondern dass es hart sein kann. Und ihr müsst euch in der Jugend dafür stehlen. Ihr müsst lernen, Entbehrungen auf euch zu nehmen, ohne jeweils zusammenzubrechen. Denn was wir auch heute schaffen und was wir tun, wir werden vergehen, aber in euch wird Deutschland weiterleben. Und wenn
It's really amazing how that keeps working like that. I don't understand. I'm not planning this. I promise. So I do have a couple other clips that they didn't touch on from here, from the original speech. There's a short one here right around the 23-minute mark. We'll lead in just a little bit of it. And then another one about, I'll lead in at the 31.5-minute mark, but it goes into the 32-minute mark. So,
hyperbole, your strength, your integrity, American strength and integrity, ordinary citizens, state election officials, the American judicial system, who put the Constitution first, and sometimes at their peril. At their peril. Because of them, because of you, the will of the people prevailed. not the anger of the mob or the appetites of one man. When the attack on January 6th happened, there was no doubt about the truth. At the time, even Republican members of Congress and Fox News commentators publicly and privately condemned the attack. As one Republican senator said, Trump's behavior was embarrassing and humiliating for the country. But now that same senator and those same people have changed their tune. As time has gone on, politics, fear, money, all have intervened. And now these MAGA voices who know the truth about Trump on January 6th have abandoned the truth and abandoned the democracy. They made their choice. Now the rest of us, Democrats, independents, mainstream Republicans, we have to make our choice. I know mine, and I believe I know America's. We'll defend.
So we're going to do this again with a short little overlay of something that sounds almost similar. So we'll play the video, and I will play some audio in behind this. Let me just make sure this isn't going to throw an advertisement at me right away. Alright, this one is muted. Let's put the overlay in behind it, and let's listen.
In order to ensure the security and continuing stability, the Republic will be reorganized into the first galactic empire for a safe and secure society.
Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. Alright, let's go to the 31.5 minute mark because I just want to touch on this last part of this speech here. We do have to keep moving because I still got a page of things I like and things that I hate, including one I think you guys are going to like too, by the way.
Grab my arm in private and say, he can't win. Tell me. No, my country will be at risk. Think of how many countries, Tommy, you know that are on the edge. Imagine. We still believe in we the people. That includes all of us, not some of us. Let me close with this. In the cold winter of 1777, George Washington and his American troops of Valley Forge waged a battle on behalf of a revolutionary idea. That everyday people, like where I come from and the vast majority of you, not a king or a dictator, that everyday people can govern themselves without a king or a dictator.
Now, mind you, you're not allowed to govern yourself because we will tell you what schools to go to, who to vote for. We will tell you who you can and cannot put on the ballot. Not a king. We can govern ourselves as long as you follow the laws that we tell you to follow, that you have the appliances that we tell you to have, that you drive the cars that we tell you to drive, that you use the appliances that we tell you to use and not dare think about using the other type of appliance, that you eat the foods, and if we tell you a disease that has a 99.998% survival rate could upend all of society, that you still stop whatever it is that you do. And don't you dare go out into society. But not what a king or a dictator would do. I can't believe this is real life. Alright, that's the Biden speech. Now, we're going to finish out here talking about January the 6th. I got one other one that I want to touch on before we do. Prosecutor says many more police officers likely injured on January 6th than reported. I don't know. They went hard into this one for the 3rd anniversary. And I understand why they did because we're officially in an election year. But they went extra hard into this one. Making sure that you remember everything that happened there, the way that they presented it to you, not the way that you actually saw it. When people were arguing about it online, I reminded people, I watched Stephen Ignoramus' live stream from the Capitol and didn't see any of the crap that the mainstream media continues to shove down our throats as hard as they can. Because they do have a narrative that they have to push for this entire thing. It must be what it is, and it cannot be anything else. And if it is anything else, well, then you're a racist or something. And they're going to, years after the fact, come and tell you that, oh, look at all these new officers we found that were injured. Oh, no. They didn't come out and tell us about it before, but look at them now. They were injured. January 6th, likely the largest single-day mass assault on law enforcement in U.S. history, says D.C. U.S. Attorney. And this kind of headline, they want you to go into this scared, looking to the empire to protect you. It's just, I'll go back and play Palpatine's speech again, that you can hear it. And that's what he's promising with this, and that's what we hear when we see headlines like this. For the safety and security of all the people, the United States will be reorganized into the first American empire.
In order to ensure the security and continuing stability, the Republic will be reorganized into the first galactic empire for a safe and secure society.
When we sit in here and listen to Biden's speech like this, and then also couple this with how dangerous we're supposed to think the insurrectionists are, do you not hear this same undertone that we hear here? Put us in. Let us reorganize this country into what we want it to be for a safe and secure empire. For a safe and secure society. Let's see. Yeah, this is the one that I want. Going back to Lake County. 3 January 6 fugitives arrested in Florida 3 years after the riot because they're still going after this. 3 years after this, they're going off and they're finding people. And they're bringing them in for it. Jonathan Daniel Pollock, Olivia Michelle Pollock, and Joseph Daniel Hutchinson III were all arrested in Lake County exactly 3 years after the Capitol riot, according to officials. If you were there and you were involved and violent towards the Capitol Police, towards law enforcement, or involved in obstructing or attempting to obstruct the function of government, said Tampa criminal defense attorney Anthony Rickman, the federal prosecutors, they're going to come after you. They're not going to stop until you're persecuted. Prosecuted. A statement from the FBI Tampa division states that the trio was arrested early Saturday morning at a ranch in Groveland. The FBI offered a reward of $30,000 for information leading to the arrest and conviction of Jonathan Pollock while he was on the run. Why was he on the run? For 3 years. They clearly knew where he was. They arrested him in Florida near his home. If you were anywhere close to the building, you will be persecuted. But you know who won't be persecuted? Ray Epps. From Politico, Raymond Epps, pro-Trump Hong Kong rioter, smeared by conspiracy theories, gets probation for a role in Capitol. We have got people who weren't even on the site of the Capitol riot going up for 18, 20 years, 27 years. And what did we say when the charges first dropped off? When they first said they were going to bring a charge against Ray Epps? Well, he can't be an informant. We're going to bring a charge against him. What did I say then? He's not going to see a day in jail. Probation for his role in the Capitol riot. Not a day in fucking jail. Now, as far as Epps goes, I do not believe that Mr. Epps was himself a federal agent. I don't think he was an FBI agent. I think that somewhere down the line he might have gotten himself into some trouble somewhere, being anti-government, wanted to graze his cattle somewhere where they're not supposed to graze, have them give raw milk, something else that he had to do with agriculture, something else he had to do with being against the government. And somebody sat him down and said, "Hey, Ray, here's a big file I have right here for you, on you, right here. If you can convince a bunch of people to go into the Capitol in this big rally that we have going on, we make all this go away. It's all gone. All you have to do is tell a bunch of people to go into the Capitol. We'll buy you a new MAGA hat. We'll get you some new clothes. We'll fly you out there. Just go down in the streets and tell people that their vote was stolen from them. And they have to take it to the government. They have to go into the Capitol. And all this goes away. No more. We don't see it anymore." The Mogwai says, 70 years from now, you were 9 and you said to your little sister, "Wow, I wish I was at the Capitol that day." Boom, they have charges for you. Further cementing this here, DC U.S. Attorney Matthew Graves making it clear that the DOJ is now going to target Americans who were around the Capitol on January 6th but did not enter the building. Which is funny because when Ann Coulter went on her epic rant and said that Ray Epps was completely innocent because he never went into the Capitol, I was told that going into the Capitol was the indicator. By the way, I still have my follow-up tagline up. I just realized that, like, now. So, way to go me looking at the monitors. Let's listen to Matthew Graves and I'll go fix that. Or maybe I'll just leave it for the rest of the stream.
And what happened inside of the building. An important note when it comes to our prosecutions about those who remained outside the building. We have used our prosecutorial discretion to primarily focus on those who entered the building or those who engaged in violent or corrupt conduct on Capitol grounds. But if a person knowingly entered the restricted area without authorization, they had already committed a federal crime. Make no mistake, thousands of people occupied an area that they were not authorized to be present in the first place.
Again, which is weird because I was told that you were required to have gone into the Capitol to be a federal felon and to be persecuted by our federal government. Now you don't even need that. Maybe we will get to the future that the Mogwai pointed out. Hey, I wish I could have been there that day. Oh, you're having charges. All right. Last one. Then we'll do things I like and things that I hate. All right. Byron York on X tells us in Philadelphia, the National Park Service plans to remove a statue of William Penn from Welcome Park, which is named after Penn's ship. The site of Penn's house seeks to make the park experience more welcoming, accurate, and inclusive. With the image, the National Park Service proposes to rehabilitate the Welcome Park, provide a more welcoming, accurate, and inclusive experience for visitors. Welcome Park was designed by the internationally acclaimed design firm Venturi Scott Brown Associates. The park is located on the site of William Penn's home, the Slate Roof House, and is named for the ship Welcome, which transported Penn to Philadelphia. The design and construction of Welcome Park was funded by the Independence Historical Trust and was completed in 1982. The proposed rehab of Welcome Park includes expanded interpretation of the Native American history of Philadelphia and was developed in consultation with representatives of the indigenous nations and the Haudenosaunee, the Delaware, and the Shawnee of Oklahoma. The reimagined Welcome Park maintains certain aspects of the original design, such as the street grid, rivers, and east wall, while adding a new planted buffer on 3 sides and a ceremonial gathering space with circular benches. The Penn statue and the slate roof house model will be removed and not reinstalled. In a separate and further effort, the new exhibit panels will be installed on the south site to replace the Penn timeline. So they came out and said, yep, we are erasing William Penn from this. The person who named Pennsylvania, number 1, and then, of course, the ship that carried him over from this. But the people spoke. From the Associated Press, the Park Service retracts decision to take down William Penn statue at Philadelphia Historical Site. The deck is stacked against you. If you believe that, you're probably right. But they do understand, they do hear you, and they do realize when they're making a tremendously stupid decision. And sometimes they get it right. They don't always get it right, but sometimes they get it right. The National Park Service withdrew a proposal Monday to take down a statue of William Penn at a Philadelphia historical site as part of a renovation that touched off a torrent of criticism over the legacy of the man who founded the province of Pennsylvania, who literally the state is named for. In a brief statement, Independence National Historical Park said it has withdrawn the proposal. It had announced quietly before the weekend about a wider renovation of Welcome Park, located just blocks from the Liberty Bell in the National Constitution Center. Isn't the Shawnee Elizabeth Warren's tribe? I believe it is, actually. I think you're right. Mogwai says the poor guy hiring proposition for a call girl near the Capitol is in for a big surprise. Yeah, he was near the Capitol. You're right. You're right on that one. So yes, they backpedaled on this one. They changed their mind. They did it right. They don't do it often, but they do it right from time to time. And I'll give credit where credit is due. All right, and that's all the news we're going to do today. Let's do the rules of acquisition and some things I like and some things that I hate. We finished off on the 242nd rule of acquisition, which is an aspect of the Ferengi religion from the fictional universe of Star Trek. The Ferengi, being hyper-capitalistic, believe that if you follow this list of rules to the T, or the closer you follow it to them, the more credit you will have built up at the end of your life, and the better life you can bid for at the end of your days for your next life in the Divine Treasury. Every week we go through one of these rules because I myself am also hyper-capitalistic and discuss how they are used in the fictional universe, if they can be used in our real life, and how they can be used in our real life. We've had some good, real philosophical ones lately. We left off on the 242nd rule, which is more is good, all is better. Now we are at the 243rd rule, which is the same thing they teach you in the CCA when you go for your concealed carry license. And the same thing you should be philosophically using for yourself in regular parlance to begin with. The 243rd rule of acquisition from DS9 novel Sacraments of Fire says, always leave yourself an out. This is just common knowledge, and I've not read this book, so I don't know how it was used in beta canon, but I will tell you this. You go to the restaurant, crowded or not, know where your exits are. In case there's a fire, in case somebody does come, some moron with a machete does come in, saying he'll kill the next motherfucker that comes in here. In case the kitchen floods, and there's a panic stampede trying to get to one entrance, know where the other one is. I mean, this is just basic common knowledge. It's one of the first things I do when I go into a grocery store. I note where the emergency exits are. when I go into a library, when I go to work, like when I just got my new job last year, first thing I did is I walked around and I found out where all the entrances and exits were, so I can go check them. And I know no matter what where I'm at, because I'm at there for so many hours of the day. I know I can get out in a hurry no matter what the situation is. You should always leave yourself an out and know where your out is. In case you forgot your wallet. Thank you, Mogwai. So, the 243rd rule of acquisition, one we can definitely use in our real life. Always leave yourself an out. Alright, let's do some things that I like and some things that I hate. This one, some things that I like to start with. This is, if you're on Instagram, this is the page, it's entitled Lady J. Very good one. We're going to look at 2 videos from the Lady J. And she does a very deadpan review of very, very woke videos and TikToks that are out there. I've got one we're going to talk about being blessed, and she's going to do commentary on this one. And one that we actually get to watch a breakup in the midst of it, where again, she makes commentary. She's very based. I very much enjoy this page, and I think you guys will too. That is that at the_lady_J_. If you're on Instagram, go check this lady out. Let's listen to a couple of her videos here. Do this one first.
Had it with the word blessed. I've had it.
Naturally. And this is a wonderful demonstration of how some individuals who live in one of the most privileged countries in the world are now having to really dig deep to find something to be offended by.
The guy just delivered UPS, and he handed me the box, and he said, "Have a blessed day."
Oh, no. Not that.
I just stood there with my jaw open thinking, does he not know that I don't like the word blessed? Which, of course, he doesn't. But
Yes. This has become the new normal in some parts of our society. Isn't it just great?
have a blessed day as opposed, why can't you just say have a good day?
Right. Have a good day.
Who the fuck is out there blessing my day? A blessed day? What the fuck does that mean?
Right. The better question is, why are so many so eager to put their own personal sensitivities on full display? Because it's genuinely a whole new level of delicate when a person would actually seemingly expect another person to tiptoe around them while wishing them to have a good or blessed day. Really? If nothing else was an indicator that good times make soft people, I don't know what else is.
Had it with the word blessed. I've had it.
That what she finished on there too, that's not an indicator of good times making soft people. You're literally insulted by being told, hey, be blessed, be amazing. This other one is hilarious. That's why I wanted to keep this one in here and do two instead of just one.
How much money is in your guys' bank account?
Let's see how this goes.
I got like 1,200.
Certainly could be worse. Now let's see how much she has.
Like 70K?
Wait, how much?
Yeah.
70K? What you mean 70K?
What do you mean? My dad gave it to me.
Oh, isn't that nice? But let's see why this is relevant.
You made me pay for all this shit and you got 70K in
You're my boyfriend. Why wouldn't you pay for my things?
Wow.
Well, I mean, if you got 70K, I mean, you should be paying for this
Yeah,
shit.
but usually the guy's supposed to pay for the things.
This is a serious problem. Like, I'm not even kidding. I paid for
What
dinner.
are you getting mad at me for?
That was $400.
A $400 dinner. And guess what she says next?
You're supposed to pay for my shit.
You got 70K?
You're my boyfriend. You're supposed to pay for my shit.
Me?
Supposed to pay. Holy entitlement.
Yo, dude, this is actually...
It's not my fault you're broke. How is that my fault?
Well, expecting him to pay for all of your stuff, including $400 dinners, certainly isn't helping.
We're done then.
What do you mean we're done?
We're done then.
If you're gonna fucking scream at me, then leave.
It's just my opinion. But I don't think he was wrong at all for leaving. Can't blame him one little bit.
How much money?
Yeah, neither guy. And I mean, all the videos that you see up here are all the same thing. It's a Woketoid video that they that she found on TikTok or something, and issuing the deadpan takedown of it. Very enjoyable. I really enjoy it. I think that's hilarious half the time, and it does show a serious level of problem with our society in the other half of the time. Other things that I like. I don't necessarily like this because I think it sucks that this guy had to go through it, but it's still funny. I'm not even going to lie about the fact that I laughed about it when I read it the first time. The New York Post reporting fast food customer sues Dunkin' Donuts over traumatic toilet experience. I'm sorry, explosion, not experience. But I suppose that would also be a traumatic toilet experience. Jorge Fitzgibbon reporting, he'll skip the chocolate glaze. Yeah, they went there. Paul Kurowick is suing Dunkin' Donuts after he says a toilet at the Florida outlet exploded while he was doing his business, leaving him traumatized and coated head to toe in poop. Kurowick says the stomach-turning blast on January 6, 2022 left him covered in debris, including crap and pee, according to the lawsuit filed in Florida's 9th Judicial District on Wednesday. Following the explosion of the toilet, plaintiff emerged from the men's room and sought assistance from the employees and managers of the defendant's business to clean himself, as he remained covered with human feces and urine after emerging from the men's room, the complaint says. Making matters worse, Kurowick claims the workers at the Orange County coffee shop conceded that they were aware that there were problems with the toilet. I got this feeling that they didn't know it was going to blow. Got this feeling. He's asking the coffee giant to fork over $50,000 in legal fees, claiming that he now requires mental health care and counseling as a direct result of the trauma he experienced in a restroom at the defendant's building and from the continuing trauma following the event. I think that's a little bit excessive. I think he's entitled to something. I think that if you've got a public accommodation that, I don't know, blows the fuck up, then yeah, you definitely should get some sort of compensation from that. $50,000, I think, is a little bit steep. That's the last time he asked for the ones with cream filling. Yeah, I bet. So, I laughed the first time I read that, and I'm not even going to lie about the fact that it happened. Fetterman in things that I like, which is a rare occasion. Citizens Free Press reporting Fetterman is right again. There's a crisis at the border, and I don't know how anyone could pretend that there isn't.
And allies admit
there's a crisis at the border, and I don't know how anybody could pretend that there isn't.
And allies admit
there's a crisis.
Now again, short clip taken out of context. I have not seen the full clip that went along with this. I'd like to. As far as Fetterman goes, like, when he says good things, I'll give him praise. When he goes against the narrative, I'll give him praise. I don't trust Fetterman. I would not vote for him. He is still a rabid anti-gunner. And he is still a rabid redistributionist. Keep in mind. He can say the most base things on the border that there is to say. But he is still a rabid anti-gunner and a rabid redistributionist. So do keep that in mind. Give him praise when he's right. But remember that you still have to ridicule him when he's wrong. Couple more. This, going back to the January 6th thing, I can't believe I'm quoting so much from the Red-Headed Libertarian, but I thought this was hilarious when I saw it. The Red-Headed Libertarian, who I swear I stopped caring about when she started working for Vice, but again, when she gets one on the ball, I'll give credit where credit's due, with a poem for us. 'Twas the night before J6 and Onyx.com. Adam Kinzinger cried like a bitch at the prom. It was worse than Pearl Harbor, Kinzinger spit. It was 10 9/11s and Nephilim shit. There were terrorists casing our sacred house floor. Not a buffalo given a free guided tour. Those grandmas were packing and wanted me dead. How dare you suggest that Ray Epps was a Fed? Or that Feds were entrapping embedded in spies? You know that I cannot confirm nor deny. How dare you make memes of my PTSD my heart and my tears, and my dual loyalty with the Ukrainian flag. Mr. Scott, I'm watching you. Ukrainian dual loyalty, not the other one. Mr. Scott, watching you. I'm shaking so hard, I'll return when I'm calmer. Unlike the very real J6 pipe bomber. A dramatic reading, written by Josie the Redhead Libertarian, by myself, J. Edgar. I thought that was funny. And the last one on things that I like before we move on to things that I hate. CBR, Mickey Mouse gets his first horror parody film as Steamboat Willie enters public domain. You knew it was coming. And I'm really interested. Like, I'm not interested in horror by any stretch of the imagination, but I do want to see where this all goes. Filmmakers are not wasting any time with putting a dark spin on Mickey Mouse following the character entering public domain. As of January 1st, Mickey's very first cartoon, Steamboat Willie, became part of the public domain, while modern versions of Mickey are still protected by copyright because he's gone through several revisions. The classic black and white version, seen in Steamboat Willie, is now available to be used by filmmakers outside the Disney umbrella. On the very day the copyright lifted for Steamboat Willie, it was announced the character will be spoofed in an upcoming horror titled Mickey's Mousetrap. The first trailer and poster have already been released for the film, which can be viewed below, which we are not going to view on YouTube because they'll hit me with a copyright slap, which is ironic in and of itself. But I love to see it. I think it's hilarious. And I think there should be more of this, especially as hard as Disney tried to keep this out of the public domain. Alright, now let's do a couple things that I hate. So this video has been circling around. I've not watched the video yet. I would have watched it pre-show, but I was listening to the Biden speech. Evil Texan, though, Gen Z joins the workforce in Biden's America. I have seen cliff notes of this, so I have an idea of what this is going to be. But let's listen.
I cannot stand how the news has been dogging Gen Z and calling them lazy for not wanting to work a 9-to-5 for the rest of their lives. Let me put it in perspective for everybody who's a little confused here, okay? I work 5 days out of the week, 40 hours a week, okay? I do not make enough to live on my own. I would not make enough to pay rent, water, electric, and eat. All by myself. I would not be capable of doing that. 20 years ago when you were getting started, you could live on your own. 20 years ago when you first started, you were able to do everything that I am now struggling to do. Let me add another perspective here. You've been working for 20 years. You have 20 years of working experience behind your belt. You have 20 years of experience in a career that has allowed you to gain raises, to get more money, to profit you in an economy that you created. You could sit here and you can call Gen Z lazy all you want, but I've been working my tail end off just to barely make it by. And respectfully, I don't want to do that for the rest of my life. I don't want to work my tail end off, wasting all of my life working just to barely be able to pay my bills. And that is what you created, not Gen Z. We're just here getting started. You've been doing it for the last 20 years. You tell me how it got ruined. We can sit here and we can call Gen Z lazy all you want, but you let the economy turn into what it did. You
No, we didn't.
Let it all run to hell. And now it's Gen Z's fault because we don't want to work to fix your mistakes.
Boy, I have never seen so much wrong in a video. And I knew most of this was coming because of the cliff notes that went with this. First off, when I was starting out 20 years ago was 2004. Which was the year before I moved into our first off-campus apartment with my second fiance. And the two of us moved in together. It would have been her senior year of her college career. The two of us moved in together, but and we didn't pay any water. We found the cheapest place in Kenosha that didn't have a water bill and didn't actually have heat. Heat was included. It was one of the only places in Kenosha where heat was included on what was, by that rights, a tiny place to be a 2-bedroom. And we moved in with another engaged couple, cutting corners wherever we could. That's what it was starting out 20 years ago. 19 years ago, technically. Oh, I guess maybe it all went to shit in that 1 year between the two. No, 20 years ago, you couldn't do it on your own. Working at the Walmart like she was. A girl that I grew up with, that I used to consider one of my very best friends before politics ripped us apart. Lived with roommates for almost, I think she still is living with roommates for her entire adult life. Working low-end, low-wage jobs. Almost 40 years old. We didn't start out just making it. Now, into the Gen X was where it started to turn when they were starting out, but into the Boomer generation, yeah, you could do that at the time. But at that point, you typically got married, and under most Boomer relationships, you got married and husband went to work and brought the paycheck home, and the wife took care of all the bills. That was where the turn was starting, where it was getting the two parents working at the time, but they learned from their parents in the silent generation. But there are two problems with this. Number one, first off, lower some of your needs if you're not making them that way. I could probably be a lot higher on the hill if I took a roommate right now, saving some money and going out and buying a house, but given what I'm doing here, I do need to live alone. It's almost not possible for me to have a roommate and then go and do this. I don't think it would be possible at this point to have a roommate and go and do this. So there's that avenue and that aspect to things up at number one. But I've made that sacrifice in my life. I could be, again, pocketing a lot of money if there were two or three other people living here with me. I absolutely could. It wouldn't be hard. And there's always going to be an intergenerational warfare. There's always going to be one. It's been happening since long before we were here, since long before there was a U.S. It's been happening into the 20s, into the 17th century, the 16th century, into the Renaissance, and long before. This is an eternal struggle. The next generation has it so much easier and doesn't appreciate it because of what we did for our past generation. None of this is new. And growing up, this girl's probably going to be looking at the Gen Alphas when they're coming in and saying, "You lazy kids, I wish that we had the kinds of things that you had coming out here. And why aren't you going out and getting out into the world and doing this and that and the next thing like we did when we were first starting out?" Some other things that I hate. Elon Musk used illegal drugs at parties around the globe, worrying executives at his companies. No, this is a fluff piece. This is an anti-Elon piece. The people at his companies know who Elon is, know what he does, and I'm going to tell you right off the bat, they don't give a fuck. Elon has used illegal drugs at parties and appeared drugged at events, worrying executives and board members of his various companies, a new bombshell report claims. The 52-year-old world's richest man allegedly used LSD, coke, ecstasy, and magic mushrooms at bashes across the globe, just like every other really rich person out there, where fellow ragers must sign non-disclosure agreements or surrender their phones to attend. People who have witnessed his drug use told the Wall Street Journal. What do you think, the rest of these people are just sitting on their hands? Especially when Little St. James Island exists. What else do we have that I hate? tweet and then a short article from Posobiec and the Post Millennial. Breaking. Machete-wielding homeless man arrested at Capitol is Venezuelan illegal immigrant released by Biden into U.S. in 2022. How are so many people, by the way, getting through the Secret Service? Now, I'm not naive enough to believe that this is a thing that started with Biden. We had our first black president who, number one, wrecked the economy, and number two, did wake up somehow the white supremacists out there who crawled off of their cousins in Alabama and decided that they couldn't have them, no black president out there. I'm not naive enough to believe that this is the first time that this has happened and an attempt has been made. But why are they actually making it out of the ground so much all of a sudden? And why is it getting reported on all of a sudden? A Venezuelan illegal immigrant male who was arrested last week after he was seen carrying a machete at the Capitol has been revealed to have been captured and later released in 2022 amid the porous southern border under Biden. Jose Leonardo Marquez, 23, was taken into custody after he was caught with a machete, a butcher's knife, and a brick at the Capitol. ICE reports. Well, I mean, at some point, maybe you just wanted to say thank you for letting him across the border. You don't know, and you can't have an opinion on this, you bigot. One of the biggest ones that I hate. State troopers conducted search on Amos Miller's farm in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. This is an Amish gentleman who was selling raw milk, and guess what? The FDA wasn't having any of it.
This is Chris Hume with the Lancaster Patriot. I'm currently outside of Amos Miller's organic farm operation here in Burdenham, Pennsylvania. There are currently 2 marked state trooper vehicles here, 3 other official use vehicles. I attempted to enter the building inside. A state trooper turned me away and said that they are executing a search warrant on Amos Miller's operations here. I have not been able to make contact with Amos Miller yet, but once again, Amos Miller's property here in Burdenham, Pennsylvania, Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. Law enforcement is once again harassing Amos Miller for serving his neighbors. And here we have a search warrant being executed, not allowing media to enter the building. Stay tuned, for this is a developing story. We will have updates as we have a search warrant being executed on Amos Miller's property right now as I speak. This is
all right, and from FSN Food Safety News. Amos Miller exits federal court. In 2023, as the third time is the charm. Amish farmer Amos Miller is holding up his third agreement with the federal government. It means his appearances in federal court are over. USDA enforcement of federal food safety regulations has prevailed. Miller proved to be a difficult assignment for USDA's Food Safety and Inspection Service, which first took civil action against Miller's organic farm and the Amish farmer himself in 2017. The most recent action reopened litigation from 2019. Often depicted as a small Amish farmer, Miller has farming operations in multiple states, and his sales club has distributed meat and poultry products across state lines. He's based in Burdenham, an unincorporated community in Pennsylvania's Lancaster County. The community has a large Amish and Mennonite population. After imposing at least $55,065 US dollars and 72 US cents in fines on Miller, the U.S. District Court for Eastern Pennsylvania approved the third consent decree allowing the case to be closed as 2023 ends. Miller also has to pay various costs for the court's agricultural expert, the U.S. Marshal's Office, and FSIS reports. Some of the provisions to clarify defendants may now market and sell amenable meats and poultry to third-party USDA-inspected establishments to defend customers. Under the same paragraph, defendants remain precluded from conducting livestock and poultry slaughter processing that are intended. So what it comes down to is that the government needed to have their cut from inspecting and putting the meat to market. And when Miller decided that that wasn't good enough for him, they dropped the hammer on him. Now, most of you will eat FDA sourced, USDA inspected meat for most of your lives. Some of you will hunt and you'll get around some of that, but for the most part, that's what you're going to eat. That's what you're going to do. That's what's going to happen. But now in doing so, you'll have the option. Do I want to go out and seek something that is not government regulated and take the chance? Or do I want to play it safe? And most of us are just going to play it safe because it's going to be easier to get that kind of meat. I think you should be able to go out and drink raw milk if you want to. Most people understand the risks of what happens if you don't drink the pasteurized milk, and at this point they go out and accept them. Willingly. They come out and say, no, that'll be fine. I'll go drink the raw milk. We'll do that. I mean, it's not like that information isn't out there. 30 years ago, I could see maybe an argument for that, where people were not being informed because it wasn't common knowledge that you couldn't drink raw milk, even though you can. But there wasn't common knowledge or easy access to the risks of doing so. The information's out there. People can make an informed decision. All right, 2 more. I'm going to skip this last one. Guest essay for the New York Times, a former newspaper, says, "It's time for America to go back to Afghanistan." Written January 3rd in the New York Times, a former newspaper. It's striking. This is from Kathy Gannon, by the way. It's striking how much Afghanistan, which has the unfortunate legacy of being the site of America's longest war, has all but disappeared from public discussion in the U.S. There's a reason for that, by the way. Because it was devastating for the Biden admin. But perhaps it's understandable. After all, there always seems to be another conflict, another war, which, as it happens, also is Afghanistan's history. Since '79, Afghans have lived in almost perpetual conflict. Millions of people have been forced to flee their homes or their country. Foreign interventions have come and gone, ending in failure, leaving Afghans and their neighbors to live with the consequences. Today, the war is over. The U.S. Embassy in Kabul sits empty, a daily reminder of how America has sought to isolate Afghanistan since the military's withdrawal. And it goes on to tell you that we need to go back in there. We need to start the war, start up the embassy again, because otherwise the Taliban wins. This is such a Bushite, boomer take. And I can't even believe that it got into the New York Times, of all places. And the last one. Now, this is a story that I did not cover because I didn't care. But the reason that this particular story here landed on things that I hate is not because I hold Harvard in some high regard. It's not because I hold the Ivy Leagues in such high regard. Or that I really care about the fact that this woman got fired. It's not going to affect my life in any way, shape, or form. But the way that it's getting spun will, because that's how they're going to fuel the culture war going forward. The Associated Press reports plagiarism charges downed Harvard's president. A conservative attack helped to fan the outrage. Republicans pounce. From Colin Binkley and Mariah Balingit. American higher education has long viewed plagiarism as a cardinal sin. Accusations of academic dishonesty have ruined the careers of faculty and undergraduates alike. The latest target is Harvard President Claudine Gay, who resigned Tuesday. In her case, the outrage came not from her academic peers, but her political foes, led by conservatives who put her career under intense scrutiny. That is not even remotely what happened in this story. Reviews by Harvard found multiple shortcomings in Gay's academic citations, including several instances of duplicative language. The university concluded the errors were not considered intentional or reckless and didn't rise to misconduct, but the allegations continued, with new ones as recently as Monday. Conservatives zeroed in on Gay amid backlash over her congressional testimony about anti-Semitism on campus. Her detractors charged that Gay, who has a PhD in government, was a professor at Harvard and Stanford, and headed Harvard's largest division. Before being promoted, got the top job in large part because she is a black woman. Chris Rufo, conservative activist who helped orchestrate the effort against Gay, celebrated her departure as a win in his campaign against elite institutions and higher educations. On X, formerly Twitter, he wrote, "Scalped as if Gay was a trophy of violence," invoking a gruesome practice taken up by white colonists who sought to eradicate Native Americans and also used by some tribes against their enemies. Yes, they actually said that. A gruesome practice taken up by white colonists and also used by some tribes against their enemies. Looking past this for just a moment, the complete rewriting of history in order to get to a political end. Claudine Gay was not released from Harvard because of plagiarism. One of the reasons that she was starting to be looked into and ultimately discovered of the plagiarism, which I'm sure that they all knew about already to begin with, was because she did say horribly anti-Semitic things from her position and could not be allowed to stay in her position, as it were. But this was not a conservative's pounce. If anything, this was a liberal's pounce. And then went and publicized the plagiarism, because then they could get conservatives to pounce. And then they can come back out and say, oh no, we didn't clean our ranks, we just did what the conservatives want us to. But no, this was not a case of Claudine Gay being dogpiled by conservatives. This woman was an anti-Semite, openly about it, in higher education in America. And what happened to her is what happened when people are anti-Semitic in higher education in America. They sack you and then they find an excuse after the fact to make it not about anti-Semitism, especially if you check all the boxes. And with that, I'm done. I didn't even want to talk about that story just because it was so asinine. But I knew just that one with the full rewrite of history. A gruesome practice taken up by white colonists. That was a part of the reason that even made it on there to begin with. I would have completely ignored the story if it wasn't for that line. Alright. We gotta throw some outro music up and head out of here for the day. Good show though. Good crowd. Good conversation. Thank you guys for that. Dual Helix says, I live with someone from 1922. Talk about a hard roommate. I wonder what you guys talk about. I don't know. The Mogwai getting a good zinger. The Mogwai got me earlier. The hanging Chad thing. Oh, that was probably not professional for me to laugh that hard, but I don't care. I'm glad I did. Where's my outro music? Alright, let's get this out of here. Whew! Well, a lot of stuff on here. My voice is definitely sore right now. You can definitely tell it's cold season because I can feel it in my sinuses right now. But we're out of here. Thanks everybody who came by, hung out, chatted in the live chat, catching up both at the end and at the beginning. Remember, the live stream will be taken down as soon as we're off air, but I will go back and upload it because I've been recording the whole time. So if you want to catch the whole thing, you can catch it back on YouTube at the re-upload. I promise I won't wait until right before Contemporary next week to upload it back up and just leave it on my desktop completely uploaded, like I did this week. I noticed that when I went to go pull the title, I'm like, oh man, I never hit the upload button over here. So last week's episode is re-uploaded to YouTube at this point, but you could always go back and check it out on Spotify, as well. And again, remember, if you're on Apple Podcasts and you download that and even delete it out without listening, that helps me out. If you listen to a little bit of it over on Spotify, that helps me out, go up the algorithms on those platforms. So if you guys could do that, that'd be awesome. Otherwise, come back tomorrow night for probably one of the last couple episodes of Final Fantasy X. We're in the home stretch. We'll be coming up at the very end here in the very, very near future, so come back for that. One more Seymour fight is coming, I think, tomorrow, so we'll do that. Fallout Friday is coming up here, or we'll be back here next Tuesday for more news, more headlines, and more contemporary. Take care. Have a fantastic night. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time on Contemporary. And until then, I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.